but that's just what we do over there. There should be a flip chart in the front of the room or a whiteboard, something to write on as the trainer. A podium with a music stand or something, maybe so you can place, your notes on, so you can read from and be hands-free. They do a microphone check. They test the multimedia. They are basically making sure that everything is set and ready to go. Sound check, multimedia check, everything's good to go. So when it comes time to make it happen, it happens. So I checked that video before, right? And it played. I'm like, great. So when it went off, that's something I didn't see, right? So my thing, I'm already thinking forward is, if that messes up one more time, I'm using my laptop. If that doesn't work, okay, we're just switching over to this. And I'll have to figure out why that didn't work. And maybe get it on a USB next time so that it just plugs through. So I have all these different things I'm already thinking about. Day one, actually that same night, is registration area. Make sure you have a volunteer. Now I'm speaking to you. When I say you, I mean the facilitator. Okay. So the facilitator makes sure that the registration payments are taken care of. They have a table at the front. When I did HMT here first, I know they had that wall. There was a wall here and over, and Dasha and Ludmila were taking registrations as people are coming in. So you have somebody doing that. The next step is the commence training at 7 p.m. Now in Canada, we start our trainings, it's 3.5-day trainings, we start the Wednesday night. Wednesday night starts at 7 p.m. Thursday all day, Friday all day, Saturday finishes at around 6 p.m. So day one, this is 7 p.m. It starts exactly. The workshop 1, Introductors to the History Makers Experience. You saw a bit of that yesterday. Basically, if you don't have that, or if you don't want to show that part of the video, you just tell them your experience with History Makers Academy, History Makers training when you went. So you give your own personal thing. That's why for you to be here today, you had to take one of the trainings so that you had an experience to touch back on, so that you have something to relate to the students with. So Pastor Derek will always say things like, I was frightened. He basically said it. That's his one story he gives every training. Heard it time and time again. It's literally like he memorized it. So you have that to relate to. After that, at 8 p.m., you start the pursuit of happiness. Pursuit of happiness. While the movie is going on, the facilitator is emailing the participants the homework packages. They get a hard copy, yes, but that was before. Now we're moving into everybody has some form of electronics. We highly suggest, not even highly suggest, I would make it a high recommendation to tell your participants to bring laptops. Bring laptops if they can. Following the movie, the HMT facilitator introduces the welcome booklet. So they go over the booklet itself. And this is where they get interaction with the participants, is they say, okay, who can read this portion? They get somebody to read it. Again, you want to encourage, or your facilitator wants to encourage, active participation from the get-go, because that sets the precedent and tone for the next morning. Homework assignments and time assignments are due. So for example, this is when the facilitator explains what the homework is and when they're due. So block 1 and 2 is due at 7 p.m. the first day. The movie assignment's due at 7 a.m. the next morning. So we're looking at day 1. So let's try not to get confused with the days. Day 1 starts in the evening. Day 2, the movie assignment's due in the morning. All right, so we're still on day 1. If you scroll down, you'll see select 2 students to pray per day. We did that. So you guys prayed today, right? So we had you select 2. Sometimes we just do that for you to interact with people. And so I like to facilitate personally interaction with each other, because you guys are one team and here together. So I like to foster bonds and relational bonds, because this is not just me only. To take over the world, you need a team. That's why Jesus needed 12 people. All right. Then what we do is the facilitator hands the two people who are going to pray every day. So let's say I'm the facilitator. This is how it goes. It says, okay, I need you, Suzanne, to pray. So I'd get you to stand up. Just play along with it, yeah. I get you to stand up, and I'm going to have you, brother, to pray. What's your name? Louis? So you guys should all be wearing name tags. This is why we get you wearing name tags. So maybe for the rest of the training, have some name tags, please. All right, so Louis and Suzanne, you guys are going to be my leaders for day one. Okay, that's what I would say. For this next morning, tomorrow morning, you guys are my leaders. So what I would do, I'd hand you each the leader prayer, the prayers guideline for the next day. Okay? And it's a colored paper. It looks exactly like the student version. Everybody else has the other participant prayer sheet they can go off of. And in that prayer sheet, there are things specified like making sure the sound equipment goes well, making sure technology goes well, praying for the trainers, praying for each other, praying for the establishment. All of these things are covered. You cover everything in prayer. Thank you. So from there, they will then lead prayer the next day. However, how many days is the training? 3.5 days. So I also need technically 4 other leaders, 2 for the next 2 days. And so your facilitator chooses those again for the next. So not you two, it would be a different 2. I choose for the Friday, and a different 2 I would choose for the Saturday. Are we understanding? Great. Then you've already done History Makers training too, so it's easier. Day 2, 7:30 to 8 a.m. is when your facilitator emails the homework that they received from the participants the night before or early morning. They email that to their volunteers. Or they collect all the handwork and the homework, and they start marking it. 8 to 9 a.m., participant morning prayer. We do it for an hour. We ensure the participants begin prayer on time, again led by 2 students. And we greet the on-site volunteers. 9 to 9:30, homework review and open forum. This is when the homework is collected and it's given back. You've all been to an HMT before, and so I'm sure you remember when it was time to do homework, somebody announced it, right? That's that time. 9 to 9:30 is when you announce the homework back, and this is when you as a trainer can start to find ways to correct people. Okay, your homework was late. Why was it late? Okay, you didn't complete. Okay, why? Or you did excellent and you're crying. Why are you crying right now? This is where you engage with your participants. So the trainer or facilitator opens up discussion. You communicate the estimated homework completion with the trainer at 9 a.m. So let's say I'm the facilitator and I have Suzanne as my trainer. At 9 a.m. I say homework is not fully completed. The marks are not completed yet. So we haven't finished marking them. And I say, it'll be finished at 9:45. She's like, okay, come back at 9:45 and we'll announce homework then. All right? This is going to get very almost tedious. I need you to stick with me because this is the heart behind it now. 9:30 to 11 a.m. is workshop 1, Sons and Daughters That Transform the World, also known as Sowing the Seeds of Sons. You watched that video yesterday. 11 to 11:15 is break. 11:15 to 12:30, workshop 2, self-enhancement through self-evaluation. You play this video. 12:30 to 1:30 is lunch. 1:30 to 3, workshop 3, time is life. How to create a 10-year plan. This is a video workshop you will play. With Sharon, it says Sharon Collins there on your sheet. Okay, that's actually Sharon Wright. She got married after we did all this, so yeah. 3 to 6 p.m. What does it say? All right, and it's an opportunity for them to read their book. You remind them that at the close of workshop 3, homework is due at 6 p.m., book reading to completed by 7 p.m. 6 p.m., email homework to volunteers for marking, and you collect all handwritten homework. This is your facilitator now. 7 to 7:30 is homework and book review. The same style and dynamic of open form is the same style that you do the homework and book review. That's all. Anybody that has any thoughts towards that or questions? Okay. 7:30 to 8:30, simulating points of pressure for high performance Christianity. This is a video workshop that you will play. Okay. 8:30 to 8:45 p.m. is a break. 8:45 to 9:30, life is predictable. This is where you as the trainer teaches this. Life is predictable. Now the closing of the evening, the time may vary depending on, but you don't want to go late. You want to wrap it up at 9:30. Latest 10. I know here at Pastor Sundays, we go till 1. Okay. It's, you know, on my first trip here, it was like midnight, and we still hadn't started the last workshop. Now I notice everything kind of finishes a certain time. I noticed that. So again, you want to close the evening off, you know, fairly early in the night. Now announce the homework that's due at 7:30 in the morning, and they dismiss the students. So yesterday, what did I do? Yesterday night, who can remember what I did before we said goodnight? Thank you. I announced the homework. Me or Bebo announced what is due for tomorrow morning, so that, again, we don't have to do that because you're leaders in your own right and you should already have that in your forethought for tomorrow. But again, we know that you're just flooded with information, so we just want to say, oh, by the way, remember tomorrow morning, homework is due at 7:30. Day 3, anything about day 2 that you need clarification on? No? Great. Again, this is very straightforward. It follows the same schedule for the next 2 days. Who wants to read day 3? Let's say at the first part. 7:30 to 8:30. What do we have there?
Email homework to volunteers for marking, collect all handwritten homework. Email facilitator, contact information for participants, questions.
Great, thank you. 8 to 9 a.m., somebody else?
Participants, morning prayer. Ensure participants begin prayer on time, led by 2 students.
Are these the same 2 students we had yesterday? All right then, great.
The greet on-site volunteers and assign workshop roles.
Wonderful. So when we meet and greet on-site volunteers and assign workshop roles, what does that entail? Okay, so what that means is when you have when your facilitators, say I'm a facilitator, and I have my volunteers. Let's say Efrain's one of my volunteers, so is Suzanne, so is Josephine, okay? I say, hello, good morning, thank you for coming today. Efrain, I need you to just be on call for, you know, when Pastor Derek needs water, coffee, or whatever, because he has to stay up front. He can't just get up and leave. Okay, so I need you in there. Suzanne, I need your help with marking right now. Okay, and Josephine, I need you to sit at the front to, you know, monitor anybody that has to go to the washroom. They put their hand up, or they have the washroom sign. Also, I'm going to pass some homework over to you. That's what I mean by assigning workshop roles. Is at every stage of the day, I tell my volunteers what they're doing, or what I need them to do. 9 to 9:30. Somebody can read this, please.
Homework reviews for open forum. Homework is not marked in time. An alternative homework review can be done at the close of workshop 1. Trainer or facilitator opens discussion. Communicate estimated homework completion time with trainer at 9 a.m. Complete and record marks and announce to students.
Thank you. 9:30 to 11. First workshop in the day is The key to resolving every problem and achieving every goal. That's going to be, system building. 11 to 11:15 break. And then 11:15 to 12:30 is workshop 2, how to build systems and routines to achieve every goal. The presentation of the system of 10,000 and the transformation council model. This video workshop that you play. 12:30 to 1:30. Everybody loves lunch. 1:30 to 3 p.m. How to build character that impacts society, system of moral value, video workshop of myself. Now it was old, so I'm going to be doing a new one. But you will see the one that was done. I'll play the one that was done, I think, today. 3 to 6 p.m. is? All right, great. And what do you remind the participants? Nice and loud? No, that's about homework. Somebody tell me homework again? Homework at? All right, and when's the book due? All right, sounds good. So if they come and say, oh, I thought my homework was due at 7, what do? You remind them, no, homework was due at 6 p.m. Your book was due at 7, because we have some of that. Oh, but you said no, it's due at 7. No, if you were listening, homework is at 6. The book is at 7. All right? Great. All right, now, from there, 7 to 7:30. When was the homework collected? All right, I just want to make sure you're paying attention. That's all. 6 p.m., great. So in the evenings, what time is homework due? Is that consensus? Yeah? Great, good. And just again, I test while I go along to make sure we got it. And every evening, book review begins at? Wonderful. Now, 7:30 to 8:30, fighting and discipline. 8:30 to 8:45 is a break. And then 8:45 to 9:30 is the Meeting with Jesus video workshop. Who remember here Meeting with Jesus? Does anybody here have an idea what that is? No? Okay. You will see it. You will see it today. I believe so, or tomorrow. No. Meeting with Jesus video is the multimedia presentation of the Bridgemaster's son and the bloody crucifixion scenes. And we play that. And that's the Meeting with Jesus. That's the reintroduction of Jesus saying, they have their systems. They learn how to build systems that day. They feel on fire. And then we just hit them down with this. Okay, you got all that, but you can gain the whole world but losing your own soul. We need Jesus. And so it's a reintroduction. Powerful. People start, crying, in which demons manifesting. It's quite fun. So, and then there's a practical practice after, in which they give up things. But Pastor Derek will explain this more. Now, the closing of the evening, again, time may vary, but again, we want to wrap up fairly earlier at the night. So I say really no later than 10, unless something is happening or you need more time. But here's the thing, if you stick with the schedule, you shouldn't need more time unless God wants to do something. Closing of the evening again is, what do you do at the end before you say? Correct. And homework is due at 7:30. Fairly straightforward, right? Now, when it says explain this evening's unique homework assignment, that's the obituaries. I don't know why, but I've been told, I think it We were at a church in Nigerian church, and the pastor says people don't like doing this because they think writing about their own death is like a curse or something. Yeah, throw that out the window. Because in reality, if you don't look towards who's going to show up at your funeral, which Pastor Sun has written a book about that, if you're not looking into eternity, how do you get to eternity? Just ask yourself, how do you get to eternity? You have to die. So death is a natural part of life. It's just a transition over to eternity, right? And so for you to have an eternal focus, you must include your death into that, because we all will die. And so unless you are taking into account that you're going to die, you can never really fulfill your potential. So maybe when people say, oh, I don't want to write that, you just tell them that. All right? Demystify it. Day 4. What time do we start? Hold on. I'm hearing different numbers there. Let me specify. What time does the facilitator start? Okay. What time do the participants show up? What do the participants show up for? Great. How long does that go for? Incredible, see? At 9 to 9:30, what happens? All right. Now, what happens if your facilitator comes to you and says, homework isn't fully marked yet, we need more time? What do you ask them? What, nice and loud? Thank you, Efren. And then, your facilitator will tell you maybe another 20 minutes. Okay. What happens if they say, homework is going to go, we're not going to be able to finish homework because we have so much, because that night there's a lot of homework given. I'm sure maybe you've noticed. There's like 10 questions, and each question you have to give 10 different examples. So homework is fairly long. And so your facilitator, especially in the beginning, they may take a bit longer. And so let me ask you, if homework is finished marking at, let's say, 10 a.m., what are you doing at 10 a.m.? According to the schedule, what are you doing at that time as a trainer? Yes, you're doing workshop number 1. Now, do you stop the workshop in order to do homework? No. When would you think is the best time? If homework isn't ready on time or isn't marked on time, when is the best time afterwards to announce it and to do a review? Did somebody say, yeah? Or before lunch. Before lunch is a good one, or you can do it before the next workshop. If it's ready by the next workshop, do a quick review, let them hand the homework back, and you continue. So again, you have to learn how to just flow, ebb and flow with the dynamics of the training. Okay, next step is going to be the break at 11 to 11:15. And workshop 2 is? Nice and loud. You guys are really low tone right now. I'm sorry, but wasn't undiscovered power of conversion such a powerful topic? And that just blew my mind. It was like, what? There's conversion? I can take things and manifest? That is a whole, what? Einstein, law of relativity, and come on, right? So that's one session, and you can explain how it impacted your life. Before I start this next session, I just want it, yada 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 yada. Now this video, we are working on a new video, but the video that we'll play, it's actually longer than an hour and a half. When we first recorded it, it was very long, but it was equally as powerful. So, what do you have after that? Everybody likes lunch? 1:30 to 3 is? Great. And this is a guest speaker of choice. Maybe yourself. Maybe you have somebody come in. Maybe if you're training but you have a pastor, maybe you have your pastor speak on something regarding the theme of the training. Or maybe you want to speak on something that you can't normally speak on a Sunday morning because there are visitors. So you can't come in with more of a sharper, edge on a Sunday, but the training is when you definitely can. So how I am interacting with you here, I would probably never interact with people like on a Sunday morning on a stage. Like I would never call somebody out and say, "Where's your name tag?" on a Sunday morning. I wouldn't do that, you know. So again, Jesus, you know, mentored and worked with this small group and was all kinds of like, Peter, walk on water. What? He's telling Satan, get behind me when he says something. You do that on a Sunday morning, you might lose your entire church. So, you know, that's why when he says, you know, drink my flesh and, drink my blood and eat my flesh, how many people left? You know, the 70 left. He's like, will you leave me? He's like, where are we going to go? Because he worked with them. So again, training is a place where you or your pastor or somebody, the guest speaker, can be a little more in tune and sharper when it comes to cutting off the excess issues of the participant's life. Because you don't want them, again, you don't do it on a Sunday morning. We're clear on that. Okay, wonderful. 3 to 6 p.m. is 3:30 to 6 p.m. Or yeah. What happens at 6 to 6:15? All right, and then 6:15 to 6:45. So it should only take 30 minutes because you only really have that, 2 workshops in the morning, and they're fairly short. Then what do you do after that? That's right. Book review, photo with trainer. What else? 6:45. What do you start? Yeah, I should do graduation. I'm not sure, but here I know Josephine was in my class when we took HMT here, if you remember. We all just kind of had this one big group photo. So that was a graduation we had. Now, students should receive their course completion certificate. Inside your HMT standard package is a certification template. And what your facilitator does is opens that up on a Google PowerPoint, copies and pastes, or just replicates that template over and over and over and over again to match the number of students. So, question, if you have 18 participants, how many templates do you need? 18. Hold on, time out. If I have 18 participants and they all graduate, how many certificates do I need? So how many templates do I have to have ready to go? Perfect. The reason being is because then they need to insert their names into each and every one of them. Okay? And then they print it out. Print it out on some pretty sturdy paper, maybe. Or maybe you can email it to them and they can print it out. I know for this, depending on the paper quality we have, and if I may email you your certificates when we're done this training this week, just so you can have it. And some of you are traveling back home, and so it's easier if I email it to you and you can print it out on better thing and frame it. So that being said, after that, you can do a class photo with the trainer and host organization leaders. 7 p.m. everything should be wrapped up and dismissed. Why do you want? Now here's a question. Why do you think we want to dismiss people this Saturday evening, nice and early? Nice and loud. Maybe you want to announce that. Why do we want to do that?
So they can prepare for service the next day.
Exactly. The worst thing you want to do is, tell your pastor you're going to have a training with the members, and then all the members show up late the next morning on Sunday. Especially because they've been up late for the past 2.5 days. So they have loss of sleep. They're going to want to go home and crash. Wake up early for Sunday, and then maybe you want to have them, do a testimony on that Sunday morning to get the other members. This is where you use that small group of people that you've, been working with over the weekend, and you use that to cause a shift in the church. You use that small group of people to cause a momentum change, where the people who didn't take the training will say, okay, something's different about them. I want to know, when's the next training? So you have them, it's really word of mouth marketing at that point. And then 48 hours post HMT or facilitator, what they do is they email the HMT graduates the class picture. Class picture. Or they send, or then what they'll do is they'll send me or our team in Canada the HMT photo so that we have a copy as well. So, because again, we're keeping track of all the people that go through the trainings. Send the names. They are also to send the names and emails of graduated participants to the HMT coordinator, which is your other person. Remember who is the HMT coordinator? They send that to the HMT coordinator, who sends that to somebody like me in Canada. Because we're going to have, what I've been working on is we're going to have a online database that's basically going to have every single person who's gone through the training. What level training they've been through, if they want to become a trainer. If you will have you in there as trainers. So again, we're going to have all of that. Any questions before I let you go on a quick 5-minute break before Pastor Deck gets back? Do you understand how this goes now? Do you understand why it's highly detailed? This is the schedule of HMT. Do you understand why yesterday was so important in knowing the details of things that happen before the training? Yeah. So the training, when it happens, it just goes. It just runs like a car. But anyway, I don't want to take more of your time. Be back at 12 noon sharp, please. All right, thank you.